Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pail, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure.
Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jaylen.
Can I call the John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Here we go, Celtics fans. We're here. Another win. 19-0 at home in the return of Ime Udoka. Josue, you just left Ime. What did he say? Nothing.
Nothing. You know the answer.
I know the answer to that.
Actually, he told his favorite stories of being head coach of the Celtics. No, of course not. He talked about the loss.
Yep, the Celtics handed to him 145-113 over Houston. And, dude, that third quarter was bananas. And Jaylen, bananas. I mean, I got up to go to the bathroom. I came back, and there was a 20-point lead. I'm like,
yeah, that's how you knew it was
gone that long.
You knew it was going to be one of those nights. And I was looking into the second half being like, okay, they're going to really drop the ball here. But you started to see the slippage before that, especially going into halftime with that 10-point or 11-point lead. And the Celtics are making threes. You know it's hard to beat this team when they're making that many threes, Nick. And by middle of the third quarter, it was like this. There's just no way for this Houston team to come back.
Just not enough firepower, especially when Jaylen and Jason are clicking the way they are. I mean, Jason will get to his
two-man game.
Yeah, I love the two-man game. We'll get to Jason getting ejected in a minute, but Brown was phenomenal. For those missing John right now, I'll just give it to you. The only downfall, I think, in Brown's game was 3 turnovers versus 2 assists. Other than that,
you mean the Jaylen take? I was going to say, what do you mean?
Yeah, the Brown take, exactly.
That sounded dark for a second. For those wondering, John's not here anymore. I thought you were going to say that. I'm like, wait, what?
No, no, I'm just filling in. I've seen the chatters for the last half hour have been saying, "Oh, John won't show tonight because Jaylen had a good game." And just so you all know,
okay.
I was scheduled, so I'm just trying to fill in my best by given that negative take on Jaylen.
By leading with Jaylen talk, I got you. Now I know.
Yeah, he was phenomenal, Josue. And I mean, last I think 5 games, last 4 or 5 games, he's had 30 points. I mean, he has really, really, really stepped up. And you and I haven't gotten much chance to talk this year on air, at least. And man, watching Jaylen and Jason be able to kind of coexist and thrive together, and Porzingis tying it all together. Tonight was just one of those nights. And when you know you're going to have a good one when Pritchard comes off the bench nailing shots too. It was like as if he was pissed at Ime for not playing him enough that rookie season. But he was firing, man. He was firing.
He's like, yeah, I remember. Well, finally, you played me in the finals a bit, but it was, I could have used way more experience before that. Yeah, that's funny.
Yep. How was the Garden? I mean, I couldn't really tell on the video we posted on the YouTube channel, but were they booing Ime? I heard you and Bobby going on early.
I feel like there wasn't much of a reaction. I did turn to Bobby and ask him if they typically show the opposing head coach on the big screen, because they didn't. It was just the screen was black for a while. I don't know if they usually do that. I don't know if that's
do, don't they? I mean, I'm going back.
I thought they did, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm aging. I mean, to be honest with you, Nick, a lot of times, man, I'm still eating with Max. I'm still talking with Max during the player introductions. I mean, it's not like years ago where I used to be in my seat waiting for the game to start. But I should have.
And we know Max, he ain't sitting down till midway through the first.
Oh, yeah, I don't even think Max saw the Ime intro, so can't ask him. I got out there early to make sure, obviously, I wouldn't miss it. But, yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's if TD Garden normally does that, but they didn't show him on the big screen. So I feel like it was almost as if, like, it was like a delayed response. Like, they just said Ime. And you kind of heard some boos, some cheers, but it's really hard to pinpoint exactly, because it wasn't as dominant. It was like faint. It were faint cheers and faint boos. So I would say it's almost like no reaction, or mixed reaction is the best way to describe it. If you had to,
it's almost like water over the dam at this point. I mean, he's moved on. The Celtics, maybe skipped 1 beat, losing in the Eastern Conference Finals next year, but they're sure as hell looking good this year, and unified under Missoula. I think it's just water over the dam now. It was neat to see him back. He was definitely nervous in your pregame media veil. I mean, the dude was panting. He was breathing really heavy. He was white as a ghost.
Well, you definitely got that vibe a little bit, but I think what helped ease that ease his nerves was that he didn't see like Channel 5 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't see like the newsy people. So he's like, all right, maybe this will be all right. You know, this is
or TMZ. No TMZ.
Yeah, right.
Or were they there?
Like the last thing he wants is the notification that starts with the do. You know, TMZ. Like that's the last thing. You know, Ime back in Boston. Like he's just trying to put all this behind him, and rightfully so. I mean, when Bobby and I did our pregame show before this one, I just reminded him how the success of the Celtics plays a big part in this. Like if this team is 500 or if this team is anything short of a championship contender, then you're going to hear the boos. Then I just feel like it's more of a story. Then it's like, man, like this team could have won a championship already. And I know some Celtics fans still feel that way, but I think it helps the fact that this team has gone out to such an incredible start and they're, you know, head and shoulders above the rest of the league, in my opinion, in the sense of just the way they've evolved as a team. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday has a lot to do with that. But as Ime mentioned before this game, the leadership of Tatum and Brown, I mean, people know that plays a big part as well. That trip to the NBA Finals was a huge part of their growth process. But also with him not in the picture anymore, you're starting to see how they're leading this team on their own. And of course, a big reason why they're a championship contender.
Well, as you say that, Josue, Amit's got Ime queued up, so let's take a listen to his reactions.
I think a little bit, but we were trying some different coverages and things that we haven't worked on a ton, and that can take some energy as well to execute those. And so they shot it well in the first half, and we were in kind of in scramble mode a lot of times, and so that's going to take some extra energy. But yeah, you could say a little bit of that, but you know, didn't love our competitiveness when we came out in third quarter, and you got to be better than that. Obviously down 10 or 12 at halftime, still in striking range, and got ugly pretty quick from there.
You know, I mean, even hearing his voice, obviously it brings back memories, but we've heard Joe longer now, if you think about it. I mean, he's there a year and a half. I think Ime always shoots it straight, though, right? I mean, like, he really doesn't bullshit. He doesn't play a lot of the games that a lot of other coaches do. And you get his honest opinion. I mean, I didn't expect much more of that.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't smile often. You know, it's hard to get a smile out of him. Yeah. But you look at the success he's had with that demeanor, and obviously he's not going to switch it up, especially with this Houston Rockets team, which he's really got these guys to buy into the defensive end of the floor, and it's essentially what's made them sort of that team to look out for in the West. I wouldn't consider them as a top, you know, team or a contender, but they're one of those teams that could certainly make the playoffs. And you look at where this team was a year ago, and just the cellar of the NBA or the Western Conference. Like they're on their way out of that. They're out of the basement, so to speak, of that the Western Conference.
I think
Ime has a lot to do with that.
To me, he's kind of like a throwback coach, right? He's got the disciplinary side. Yeah. He's very serious. He's got that, you know, dare I say, Belichick type of, you know, snarl.
Definitely.
But he's a bit more transparent than Bill, and more than Joe. But I like Joe. I've fallen into. How could you not like him when you're what are we 9 losses right now?
When you're winning, right?
What's incredible to me, Josue, a little bit off, but somebody was mentioning in the chat today. Did you realize Porzingis is only 28?
Yes, which is it's easy to forget because it feels like he's been around for like 10 years.
And he looks like the stereotypical 1980s Celtics player. You know, he looked old when he was a rookie. So, like, you know, but I did not realize he was so young. And that puts him right there with Jason and Jaylen. Brad is a genius. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he would call himself that, but I mean,
I don't know if I would have called him that 2 years ago. When I was
no, I don't think you would have.
He's a genius, man. I mean, this team is really, really, really good. Really, really good. Yeah, I mean, they don't win a championship, major disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, look, this tough decisions that he had to make after the Ime situation. It's obviously not ideal for stars, and secondly, to go with Joe Mazzulla. I mean, that's not an easy decision to make. I mean, a lot of other GMs may have looked outside, may have thought to bring in someone with a bit more experience, but you've got to credit Brad Stevens for knowing what's best for his guys, knowing that his core players. He obviously coached them for so many years. And he just knew the direction that they need, or he knew the pieces that they needed to succeed. And one of the first ones the very first one he did on the job was obviously bringing back Al Horford. But you look at this past off season, pulling the trigger on deals for Porzingis and Drew Holiday, trading away your longest tenure Celtic and Marcus Smart, and trading away Robert Williams, your starting center. Like it takes a lot of guts to do that, but he knew that it was the right thing for this team, for this organization.
And you never want to see anybody get injured, but Rob's always injured, and now Marcus, unfortunately, is injured. You got to be breaking, man. Marcus is coming here next week, or I think Memphis next week or the week after, and Marcus ain't going to be here.
He's not going to be able to play, man.
I know.
Tough year for Marcus. Tough year for Rob too. With injuries, They're both been plagued with injuries, and tougher situations, right? When you look at compared to what Ime is going through with Houston and what's happening here in Boston. But you know what, man? We also got to talk a little bit more about Jaylen, and I'm not just saying that because I'm gonna say this, man. I was thinking this throughout the fourth quarter of this game. This is that game where when we look back on this whole all defense campaign that Jaylen kind of started a month ago. This is that one game when you're like, okay, Jaylen, I think you're onto something now. Okay, you said it before. You obviously changed your approach on defense, and we've noticed that. But I haven't heard any other analyst or sports writer, and I'm on the same boat as well. I never thought to myself, okay, this could be all NBA defense. But after what I saw tonight, and when you think about the way he's been in the last 2-3 weeks, I think we can put him in that conversation for one of these all defensive teams because he's just been everywhere, man. And the 2 blocks at the rim, the screaming and yelling, those rah-rah moments. He had a couple of steals as well. And of course, his offense has always been efficient and top-notch. So it's been a heck of a year for Jaylen.
And diving for loose balls, sacrificing his body, getting on the court. A lot of that stuff we complained about in the past that you didn't see those guys doing. And of course, everybody's a plus tonight. Jaylen plus 19.
Right.
But, and I'm kidding about the turnovers. Let's face it. He was active. He was everywhere. You're going to have a couple turnovers and fouls show aggressiveness too. But
we just don't like it when it's like 7 or 8 turnovers. That's when it becomes a problem.
Or when he's not making an impact. It's like 16 points and 7 turnovers.
Right. And he's still active. Yeah.
But, I think, you're going to have games like that. But tonight and last year at points, long stretches, he proved he could play this kind of basketball. So now it's just a matter of staying healthy. I know, though, Josue, that in all the time that these guys have been together, you and me, we were there their rookie year, Jaylen and Jason's. I've never seen them play with such chemistry, and maybe their second year or third year where they had a couple of those combined 50-point games.
Yeah.
There haven't been. Now it seems like it's a nightly occurrence. And what's even better is that when one of them is off shooting, they're finding other ways to impact the game, and the team is still able to thrive when one isn't shooting because there's so many options.
Right. And I think obviously, Porzingis and Holiday have a lot to do with that in the sense that they were able to spread the floor. They're 3-point threats. They're also good passers, rebounders. They're solid rebounders. Like all of a sudden, like your starting point guard is one of your best rebounders, and you look at what Porzingis does on that side of the floor, or cleaning the glass. Like, he's an issue, for opposing teams. He's a problem. He's a matchup nightmare. And I feel like it's just having those extra weapons just makes these guys so much better. But they're not like fixated on getting their own offense going. You know what I mean? It's all about the team. It's all about what's best. It's all about reading opposing defenses and finding what works. And I think that's a big reason why Jaylen gets out to these quick starts. A lot of opposing teams apply extra pressure on Tatum. We've seen this throughout the entire season where Tatum sometimes gets out to a little bit of a slow start in the first, but that's not going to be the case throughout the entire night. And a lot of times that's the case where Jaylen gets going. And then he's also getting stops on the other side. And then in transition, you can slowly but surely get Tatum flowing. And then he picks his spots when he starts to attack in the second half. And all of a sudden, these guys are combining for, 50 to 60 points.
Welcome on into the Celtics Postgame Show. The Garden Report. Celtics beat Houston 145-113. Ime Udoka's return to the Garden. We have more sound from Ime. In this clip, you're going to hear him talking about defending the Jays, something he should know a lot about. And cue the clip on it.
Yeah, it's what I saw for a year anyway. The way they, are talented and can score and play. I didn't love our physicality and understanding how we made them a little bit too comfortable. And a lot of those walk-in shots were just uncontested. And so knowing that you want to try to break their rhythm, be a little more physical with them, I would have loved for people to guard them the way we guarded them tonight when I was here.
That was cool. I would have loved for people to guard them the way we guarded them tonight.
Hey, accountability, man. That's one of the many things
a big
you can.
Word.
You know Ime is gonna put you on blast if you're getting beat the way you did tonight, man. Don't you miss him? Don't you miss him, Celtics fans? Like that. That's a head coach right there, holding his stars accountable.
I mean, he fears nothing. That guy. I mean, he goes at LeBron. He goes out with Grossbeck.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite moments of the season.
That LeBron moment was so. It made me forget how much I missed the dude. You know what I mean? That LeBron moment was so great. And what's a lot more to hit on with this game. We got to talk about D. White. We got to talk about Tatum. But before we dive deeper into the game, Josue, I want to ask you one more question because I see some people in the chat room saying, "Calm down, fellas. At the break last year, we had the best record in the NBA, and that is true. But I can tell you that, and this is probably the least I've gone to games this year. I think I've attended Media Day in one game. From the television set on the other side of the screen here in my living room, I could feel the difference in the energy this year. And Josue, I feel like there's a you get a feeling when there's a championship vibe on a team or intensity or unity, symmetry. And this team has it. Like you could feel the buzz at the Garden from the television. You could see their body. Remember all the conversations we'd have about body language because it was so bad in other years. This year, everything seems like it's on target, barring injury. I feel something is #different here this year. Call me corny. I'm getting back to my old self, Josue.
Nah, you love those hashtags, man. I see you.
I'm getting back to being a positive Homer green teamer because I had 3 years of rage, man. Rage.
Well, that was I can't think of a better slogan when you think about last year's because remember that was sort of the off-season joke. Like, where do you go from
unfinished business?
The unfinished business, right?
Business. That was a disaster.
It's like ... still unfinished. But like, where do you go from there? That's a tough spot to be like.
Still finishing. The loading icon that you see on your iPhone.
Like, yeah, right. Like when you post that, it's like that has to be the year you win it all, and then you don't make it to the NBA Finals. So I think different here. Like it's a perfect way to, it encapsulates what the vibe is overall, and you feel it. You definitely feel it on a nightly basis here at TD Garden. That continuity for sure, like the focus, everybody really pressuring on defense. I think that's a key element in terms of like championship teams when they're just like you see those lopsided runs, where a team just can't score for 6-7 minutes straight, and then the Celtics offense just goes off the way it does. I mean, like you look across the NBA. And there's teams that can rival it, but when they're on, man, like it's ridiculous when you look at
they're hitting threes. Especially. I mean, when they're hitting three, the Celtics are hitting threes. I don't think anybody can beat them. I mean,
right. Granted, 1 through 5 or even 6, if you include Al, first guy off the bench, they're comfortable back there, right?
Yeah, so, Pritchard. Include Pritchard in that.
Oh, Pritchard, 1 through 7, and Hauser 1 through 8, But
what's great,
as well, they defend. They put a lot of effort.
We saw last year when the Celtics weren't hitting threes, they didn't hit anything. It was a nightmare. They didn't play defense in a lot of stretches. Once they got off that real hot streak, second half of the season in the playoffs, they weren't hitting threes. It was ugly. This year, it seems they've learned from that. You're hearing Joe preach a lot more defense too, which is awesome to hear. Anyway, Amit's going to tangway me now because we're powered by FanDuel and.
NFL season is wrapping up, and there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, the app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
I got tangwayed by a boomer or boomered by a tangway. I don't know what happened there, but
I think you were like not even halfway through asking for Garrett, and then it just happened.
Dude, I mean, think about it. Like, he gets to like STFU both his bosses with Tangway's voice every show, right? He could do that to John every single show.
He probably says it out loud too. We don't know.
I would be like, "Fuck Tangway, you." No.
Shut up. He just
Yeah. So anyway, what else is coming out of this one, Josue? I mean, D White, we could talk a little bit about. Obviously, good to see them still winning when he's only hitting on 13 points, but he didn't hurt them necessarily. But he's been a bit in a slump. But you're looking at him tonight; he led the plus minus out of the starters at 29 plus.
Yeah,
5 of 9 field goals. He was just quiet.
You kept seeing him just find these paths to the rim, and it was like right down the middle. Like the Houston Rockets were doing such a good job of trying to make Tatum go left or get Jaylen off of rhythm, and in comes Derek White just sneaking through defenders, and whether it was to get a layup or make a stop, like he was constant. He wouldn't give up, and that just is that approach that turns a double-digit lead into this. Like all of a sudden they're up by 25 and they're up by 30. Like this is that championship. Like that's the trait of a championship team right there. Especially after the worst loss of the season. Like this is the kind of response I expected out of Boston. I just wondered if Houston can keep up, how long they will be able to keep up before they everything's going to catch up to them. And what I mean by that is most of these starters played almost 40 minutes last night, to fly from Detroit to Boston. Like Ime really wanted that win last night. If I'm being honest, I watched that game, Nick, and it was like, not only did these guys only play 40 minutes because they played the entire fourth quarter, but they had to put together a 10-0 run in the final minute and a half just to squeeze out that win against the Pistons. And Van Vliet scored 8 of those 10 points. So that took a lot of energy. But you look at the way the Celtics looked at the second end of a back-to-back in Milwaukee, and this
bad travel.
But it's like what Ime said though as well. Like every team does this, or every team has that part of the season, part of the schedule where this happens. So no excuses, but you could see why, or you could tell this thing was going to really fall apart when the Celtics had 12 3-pointers in the second quarter, and that lead was slowly building.
Then that third quarter, man, it was like they took the lid off.
It was a wrap. Like 2 minutes after halftime, you're like, oh, this is one of those games. All right.
It was one of those games. I started going outside, taking the dog for a walk. Take the dog for a walk, put Grandy and Max on your earbuds while you go outside. Make sure you don't miss anything. If it wasn't a game night, I would have flipped the channel probably.
Did you hear
a show night if I wasn't on the show.
Did you catch the Ice Cube reference in that broadcast?
Yeah. Hey, he was there. Ice Cube was there, and 50 Cent was there. Did you see
what?
50 Cent was there.
Was he really?
So was Ice Cube, yeah.
No, Ice Cube. Yeah, I know, man. That's why I brought it up. I didn't know about 50 Cent. I thought you were joking with me. Wait, really?
No. Yeah, he was there.
Oh, man.
He really was there. How about Ice-T's going to get in the Hall of Fame? Did you hear this? The Basketball Hall of Fame, they're putting him in as, I guess, like, assisting of the game. I don't know, new award or something. I don't know. There was Mike and Scal were talking about it. I'm telling you, Ice-T.
Ice-T? What Hall of Fame?
In the Basketball Hall of Fame, Ice-T or Ice Cube? Which one is it? I always get them confused. The big three one.
It's gotta be Ice Cube.
Which one is Ice-T? I always get them confused.
Ice-T is the one the SBU, moment. The actor dude.
I'm sweating now. Josue, I saw your face.
No, I'm sorry. I know.
It's the T, not the
Q.
Q.
Law and Order. My bad.
Law and Order.
What did I say? SBU. Ice-T has nothing to do with basketball. Okay, Ice Cube makes
Ice
sense because of the big
is
three.
going in the basketball.
Oh, because of the big three. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
I was like, what Hall of Fame is Ice-T going into?
More than Ice-T, it makes sense. Oh, this is gonna be.
It makes more sense than exactly. Well, Ice Cube has the big
fucking
three.
Segment tomorrow, Josue. I can feel it.
Well,
I'm gonna get boomered out tomorrow. Let's go right to Missoula, who's talking about Jason Tatum.
Jason's ejection. It's his second one this season. I'm not going to ask you if you're concerned about that, but he has a propensity to get some technical fouls. Is there something that he can do or something you can say to kind of and bring that back? No. What was your opinion on the foul call
I mean, the space that I've been in this last week when it comes to stuff like that, I try not to have an opinion.
Should we talk about your favorite movie scene again?
Exactly. Yeah.
Boy, Joe is getting like besties with the media right now. Like, I can't believe the difference year over year.
Besties? I don't know. I think he's just having too much fun, but
way too close with the media. Hey, listen, it's great.
Hey, good for him.
What's funny is, Josue, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little stoned, so like that's the iced tea ice cube thing. I think I smoked a little jammer right before.
Yo, don't worry about it, man.
I'm sweating profusely right now. Anyway, back to what I was
you legit had me. I was like, wait, why would he be in the basketball hall? And then I was like, no, he means ice cube. He definitely means ice cube.
I knew it. Like, did you see me stop in the middle of it and the sweat started beating? I'm like, did I say tea? But anyway,
well, he's got to promote the big three. So yeah, that makes sense. And good for him. Because let's be honest, a lot of people didn't think the big three would still be around. Especially this is something that started before COVID. So
yeah, I loved it, man. I mean, I saw them when they were here when Michael Cooper was coaching here at the Garden.
And Jaylen made an appearance, so I'm sure, of course, Ice Cube appreciated that.
But wait a minute, back to Missoula. Danny Ainge. They asked Ainge. He was on with Eddie and Scal at the beginning of the season, and they asked Abby, and they asked him, if he had any advice for Joe. And among other, he was very complimentary and everything. And at the very end, he said, maybe if I were going to give him any advice, it would be maybe change your approach with the media a little bit. And they all died laughing because that was like on last year. Right?
Wait.
Yeah.
This is tonight?
This was this year. No, it was at the beginning of this season.
Oh, okay.
They interviewed Danny Ainge about Missoula and other things. And yeah, he said that, which I thought was interesting. And now every time Joe goofs around with Bobby or Gary or you, I think of Danny. I'm like, I think it's right because you really will struggle having an adversarial relationship with the media when you're a coach and have to deal with them every day. So it's good that he's.
Because your emotions, they're going to vary from night to night. And sometimes, you don't like, why have that, not obstacle, but why have that something that you have to deal with? You know what I mean? Why have that baked into the job? So I think he changed in the sense of lighting up a bit, this whole like joking around and stuff that we've been seeing lately. I look at it as a sign that things are going really well. And he feels most comfortable right now. And look, good for him. I mean, throws me off a little bit. I just don't get it sometimes. But hey, if this means that he's feeling good because of the success of his team, then hey, this is him. Look, if this is you, this is the real you, then I'm happy to see it. Exactly.
Yeah, do it. Be you. Do you, Joe?
If this is a testament of a successful basketball team and of you saying, man, like of you feeling like your team's really listening to you and your message getting across, whatever, then that's great. I just gotta get used to it, I guess. It's not a bad thing. It's just different for me. I'm not used to it.
It's a different sense of humor, though, Josue. I'm not always getting it either. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the way he looks at you guys and says something,
the Bobby Ty thing, like I get what he was trying to lighten it up. It was just like, I'm asking you a question right now, man. Can you let me finish my question? You know what I mean? But if he says that, he's rude, right? If Bobby said, he's not gonna do that, right? And again, I'm not saying
it got like 80,000 views on Instagram too, like that Bobby Ty thing.
Listen, hear me out. I'm not saying like, oh, Missoula's rude for doing that, but it's just like it's different. It's weird, I don't think it's a bad thing. But again, if this is his personality, then all right, that's who he is.
It's awkward a little bit.
It's awkward, yeah.
But I agree. If it's just you do you, Joe, because it's working,
right?
And it's not quite as entertaining as when he was sparring with Washburn every game. But I like when he's complimenting Bobby's.
But just imagine like if in the middle of one of his answers, we made a comment about his attire or something. Like that's really unprofessional, right? But when the coach does it, obviously it's different. We're not gonna be like, oh man, what an unprofessional thing. But it's Joe showing that side of him, that his playful side. It's not rude, but it's kind of like
when he says,
throws you off.
Gary, I love you, Gary, with the big smile.
Yeah, right. He did it. He did it. The other night.
Last game, I think. I think it was last game.
And it's like, wait, do you really love me, or are you like, is this your way of saying like, oh, here you go again? You know what I mean? So it's like, but Gary's. If you were to go down that road, it's like, well, what's the point of it? Like, we're here to do a job here. It's not about me. You know what I mean? I don't want to be part of the story as the reporter. You know, so it's like,
no, you're right.
But if that's Joe's thing, then that's his thing. What do you?
I think it's a way of. It's almost a way of getting his thoughts together to give an answer. He'll bust balls a little bit, and he can formulate his thoughts. I do that quite a bit, so I could see him doing that. You know, but I don't know, Josue. Do you get fired or pissed off, fired up about Tatum getting ejected in a meaningless fashion tonight?
Not this one, no, because it happened too fast, to be honest. And then it makes me wonder what he said, but because it's such a lopsided game, you're like, but at the same time, it's like, is this ever gonna like be a thing of the past? You know? And listen, Celtics fans, I know you guys are gonna be like, oh, well, you guys, you know, he's emotional, and it's just something. Well, if this costs you a game in the playoffs, we got a real problem then, right? Like,
or if those
fractured relationship between him and the referees, like if it's something that he has to figure out to get him to stop, then it's something that he has to figure out, right?
He's definitely gotten better, but I get to the point now where I hear technical on Tatum and I don't even look to see what happened. I just roll my eyes and keep walking out of the room and then come back, right, or whatever. If I don't stop what I'm doing and go, whoa, what happened? Because he's just
but Nick, doesn't it make you wonder if this shit is personal? Like, are you saying something that's like are you really pissing off these refs? Because like, why do they have it out for you like that? A double tech like that, and he was walking away. He said something as he's walking away. So whatever was said really, really hit a nerve.
I just think it goes back to years of this nonsense. Like when he'd be flailing his body all over the place and just, you know, really upstaging them, you know, instead of, you know, going after an opponent with, like, remember that KD with Brooklyn when KD elbowed him in the neck and all of a sudden he's running after the referees and not going after Durant. Like it was just too much. So I think after a while, I mean, Donaghy told me you develop a reputation, and once you develop it, it took Marcus years to shed that reputation. Remember with the charges, he would always be flopping.
The flopping thing,
The flopping took years. So I think he's just.
He also stopped flopping too, but yeah.
Well, he did. He stopped flopping. That's really good. But they used to call him
the obvious ones, man. Remember that one? He leaped back and it's like, whoa, all right, Marcus.
There's some LeBron flops in Marcus's repertoire.
Oh, LeBron's flop tape is 10 times better than Marcus's, and I mean better as in worse.
Better than anyone's in NBA history. I mean, those flops are.
Or those delayed responses where he would just like break his head back. Oh,
he's like, when he was at the Garden last year.
All in the Miami uniform. Most of it was in the Miami Heat uniform. Or the Cleveland days,
Now, I mean, you got to respect the guy. But anyway, back to Tatum. I don't know, man. It's frustrating, but he's just got to work. He's just got to work through it. Like, stop doing it altogether. And it bothers me because he's matured so much in so many ways, like all his game, his approach to the media, the way that he is with the fans, his vocal appreciation of Boston, even his nod and fear to say that he didn't want to come here initially. All those things have really, really matured. Everything seems to have matured with Tatum, except that one little thing, which is the referees. And in a game like tonight, you're right. It's a meaningless ejection, but it still is two more technicals on that to get closer to the suspension. So, you don't want to keep adding those up,
right? And I feel like a lot of the times, or at least tonight, when it's like a lopsided game this way, he's like, oh, I can kind of talk my shit a little bit, you know. Oh, I don't have any text, you know what I mean? And then like I feel like with tonight, he didn't expect him to get the double text like that.
Sometimes it's like they're coming into the game, and it's not just him, but he's one they're always going after. I mean, Sheed was that way. Do you remember? Sheed could sneeze and they'd call technical on him, Rasheed Wallace.
Right.
And we got that for a full season here, but he never shedded that reputation. So he dealt with it his entire career.
Right, because he didn't care to, right? Like he never said, you know what, I need to improve my relationship with the ref. No, like it wasn't something that he thought was important.
But for Tatum, it is.
For Tatum, I think it is, right? I think it's very important because we've seen the kind of nights he puts together when he's getting to when he's getting 12, 13, 14 free throws. I mean, he should be getting double digits in attempted free throws every night. Like, that should be a given, especially with the way his game's evolved.
Yeah, I would agree too. And that also was in the first, but back to this game. In the first half, until that third quarter, the points in the paint was horrendous. Like, everything was they really started going towards the basket in that third quarter. And you could see the difference with them starting to get to the line. And someone in the chat mentioned Porzingis being more healthy than, knock on wood, than the people that we have sent out, which has been the key is just holding Porzingis healthy until the playoffs, right? You got to be healthy in the playoffs. If they got to give him a break, they give him a break. We're not even at the All-Star break yet, man.
I know. Isn't this great, though? Look at that record, man. 30-9.
Man, 19-0 at home. They're going after that 86 record, and I fucking love it, man.
You think so?
Dude, are you kidding me? They are after that. I think so. I mean,
how many games do you think they'll lose at home?
I think they might go undefeated.
Really?
Dude, I think they want that record.
That'd be so impressive, man.
I
never, even up until tonight, I still don't. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that would be crazy. Like, I mean, they're almost halfway there.
They're almost halfway there. Think about it. And how have they won 18 in a row, or actually, obviously 19 in a row at home this season?
Oh, 19. You mean the winning streak? Yeah, winning streak was 18, 19 at home. Yeah.
All right, so they've already beaten 86 on that. So I'll tell you, I'd love to see this Garden, the TD Garden, get that record just like the old Boston Garden did, because that place, it was incredible to be a fan there. And this place is just air conditioned and more comfortable and incredible to be a fan. So a championship, man, I don't have anything else to say tonight, really.
What do you mean? That they're going to win it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is the most positive I felt about any Celtics team since KG and Paul Pierce.
That's fair. Yeah, same. Since that 2010 team.
Like, let's face it, we were there all through IT, right? That was special. It was fun, but you never really thought they were going to win it.
No, they did fool me, though. I thought they would make it to the finals.
Almost did. They almost did. Look at how you got your IT crush on just now. I saw your cheeks are getting red.
Yeah, that was a special time, man.
That was so much fun. Me and you were on all the road games. That was
right, and that was the beginning of my time on the beat.
The beat writer. The other time was when we did opening night in Cleveland, the Kyrie era. Man. I thought that would have been a championship team, but once you got around them, you didn't feel that energy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this year just has that 08 energy.
Yeah, full disclosure, Nick was considering selling the company after
after
going to
lose everything. Remember, I'm going to lose everything. I'm
going to go out of business.
I just moved my whole career to Boston, right? And this guy, because basically, and this guy breaks his foot. I'm like, this is it. I'm done. Then we missed Josue. We missed our flight. Remember?
You go, Josue. They're not going to make the playoffs.
Josue, remember we missed our flight home? We were I think we all got bombed.
They had a back-to-back that day. The home opener was the next day.
We Milwaukee.
We flew in like 3 hours before tip-off. Oh man.
We went right to the game from the airport, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a fun time. That was not a fun team.
But listen, let's not get it twisted though. You weren't the only one. There was a lot of people being like, "This team is done. They're trash." I can't believe this happened. I'm like, well, wait a minute. They still got a talented team here. But
oh boy, let's go. Can we cut to Tatum, or is it? Do we have that sound? It's still uploading. Still speaking.
It'll be in soon.
It'll be in soon. So basically, Tatum saying he'd like to keep those private moments with the referees private. Dude, what could he be saying?
Something with a bunch of curse words in it, man. Yeah, referees don't like that. They really don't like it when people swear at them. They don't like it.
You think that's what it is? I mean,
yeah, but it's like it's got to be like something smart. It's not just like F you.
It's not. Yeah, and I don't think it's anything like totally nefarious, because like Jason he seems to be a pretty polite, respectful guy. Like, I don't think he's out there. The ref said he wanted to defend himself. The refs. He said he wanted. I don't know what that says on it. We'll just wait till we hear him say it.
Read it inside yet.
The refs. He said he wanted to defend himself. I don't get that one. Do you, Josue?
The way I see it, the way I understand it, the referees wanted to clap back. I guess he defended himself in the sense of tossing him, I guess.
Here's how it reads, fans. The refs, he said he wanted to defend himself. Tatum ejected. Okay, this makes sense. Amit rewarded it, everybody. Tatum on ejection. I wanted to defend myself. Okay. All right.
There you go.
Should I go outside and smoke a bowl or what?
So Tatum wanted to defend himself. Gotcha. Right.
I thought the refs wanted to defend
I was thrown off too. I thought that's what he meant too, and I thought that the ejection was a form of defending oneself. That's the way I understood it.
You could read Tatum's lips. He pointed at the ref and said, "That's three times by you."
Nick, is that your dog sleeping? He is out. Look at him.
Oh yeah, look at this baby, right? He is.
Oh, he's up. Oh.
I just woke him up.
He was so still. It looked like a stuffed animal.
Asleep. He was out like a light, man. He was out like. Are we going to talk about basketball? No, screw it. What else can we talk about? Should we talk about
Who said
food?
that? Did someone say that, or are you asking me that?
I'm asking you that.
Yeah, let's do it, man. What else you got?
I don't know, man.
I
shouldn't
have woke your dog up. Now he's thinking the show's almost over.
Yeah, he's pumped, man. Look at him. That is a good-looking dog, isn't it?
You're not surprised about just Ime's overall demeanor today, right? Like there was nothing that gave you the sense that he was gonna be like, man, when I walked through here, all I thought about was that incredible run we had. Like, there's no way, it wouldn't be proper. If I'm a member of the Houston Rockets, I'm like, I would have hated that. It's like, yo, you're coaching us now. Like, why are you going down memory road, especially for a team that kicked you out, And regardless of what happened, we don't know all the facts and all that stuff. But again, speaking as a member of the Houston Rockets, I would have hated that. So I think he did what he was supposed to. He was super professional. But I mean,
Josue,
he's not being completely forward, right? Because there's no way. I mean, Nick, the last time he walked into this building, the last time he walked out of it, rather, he watched the Golden State Warriors celebrate their championship on his own floor. Like, he had no idea that in 3 months he would be suspended and not be able to coach again for the Celtics team.
But you know what, Josue? He also had Nia Long at that time. Like, a lot has changed for Ime Udoka besides leaving the Celtics. I mean, he lost his long-term significant other, right? There's he had to leave cities. He's almost got hired by Brooklyn. I think we all thought Brooklyn was going to hire him, and clearly somebody got to ownership there, and they rescinded, and then going to Houston. So I honestly think he wouldn't tell us the truth anyway, but I don't know. Would you be thinking that after a year? It was only a year.
Yeah, I would be, but I wouldn't say it.
You would be, but you couldn't say it because your players would get furious. Yeah. For those freaking out, Josue is here and Bobby is coming. John's not fired. Sherrod's still with us. Jimmy's playing guitar somewhere in Boston right now, I think. So it's the 8-team Josue and me, the sixth man, I guess, tonight. The sixth man, I'm in there. I'm the Honda.
Sir. You kicking it with us tonight?
Yeah, man. Just till Bobby gets here, baby. Then I'm out. I'm out like a fucking Roman candle.
Oh, you're just a dick, huh? Messed up.
Maybe I'll go take a break and come back then.
There you go.
Josue, we should have went to the bar and done the show from the bar. We should have made it down at Banners.
That would be a terrible idea, Nick. Hey, we're live right now.
I know. What else do we want to talk about here?
I mean, look, the Celtics team, like I said earlier, this is how you're supposed to respond after the worst loss of the season. I just love this the way this team's turned the significant corner, if you ask me. And I know I said this like a week ago, but I didn't anticipate such a blowout loss against the Bucks. I didn't like their chances of winning that game, but man, like what did you think? I mean, has anything changed compared to after that game? To what you saw tonight?
Milwaukee? No, I swear to God,
nothing's changed, right?
No, I mean, even after that game, I think John was calling me out because I was in the chat room saying that didn't even bother me, and I love that Joe pulled the starters at halftime during Milwaukee. We don't. I don't want to get too cocky, but I am not afraid of Milwaukee. I don't care about Dame. I just don't care. Not afraid of them.
Yeah, they're
Like,
not as scary
please.
as they appeared on paper, right?
No, and I just after all the BS with Lillard, I lost a lot of respect for him with the Miami nonsense and then going there, and I'm just not afraid of them. I think the Celtics are way better. I memean, and trust me, you know this. Like, I will admit it when the Celtics suck. Like, I will go to all lengths to say how disappointed I am in them, and I just they're better than Milwaukee. And the only other thing I can say is I love that the Lakers fucking suck. I love it. Love it.
Of course you do.
Yeah, so Jason Tatum on his talks with Ime Udoka, some of those private conversations I would want to keep private. It seems like we are all kind of moved on from that, leave that in the
Nick, you
past.
had me confused earlier, man. I think you talking about the referee talk. Sorry, go ahead.
The way he worded it, it was the referee talk. I think Bobby's with us now. He's trying to log in, so that's great. It was the referee talk, Josue. We are the effing Celtics. We are drunk, but not in this sense. Okay, there's Bobby.
Wow.
Bobby, bring some seriousness.
Look how excited he is. And you know why he's excited, right, Bobby? Because he's like, that's my time, everybody.
Yeah, Bobby Manning. There he is. The chat room goes crazy. That means it's all you guys now. So kill it together. I'm out.
Appreciate you, Nick. Have a good night, man.
Appreciate you all. Where did Bobby go? As soon as I'm Josue, thank you.
I didn't do that, I swear.
Thanks for making me, not look quite as crazy tonight.
Nah, you look fine.
There he is. All right, fellas, go Celtics.
You look so scared when Bobby just disappeared.
I know. Bobby.
What do you think, Nick? Real quick.
Return. I thought it was amazing. The Celtics were amazing. Ime, I don't really think matters much anymore. It's really
it was interesting.
In the past.
We'll get into that.
And I think Jaylen Brown has been amazing, and the Celtics are going to win Banner 18. Off to you guys.
Appreciate you, Nick. All right, Bobby, you just heard you were just in there with Jason Tatum. What do you have to say about the ejection 1 and, of course, 2? I'm seeing these quotes about Ime. I was thrown off a little bit. I thought the Ime quote was about the referee exchange. So I'm all confused here with what was just said. What do you have to say about the Ime situation? Of course, the exchange with the referee that led to his ejection.
Yeah, much like Joe said, he picked his spot because of the situation, the time and score. He said, "I'm very self-aware." That was a situation where he felt like he could make his point in a pretty aggressive way. He was frustrated over the 2 calls there, so. No one cared, right? You're up 30 plus or whatever it was at that point, banging out of the game, getting some extra rest. It's not the worst time to do it, especially if he wants to take the technical fines and the extra checks in the box toward the potential suspension down the line, which I don't think he'll get to. He hasn't picked up too many technicals this year. But he wanted to make a point in that moment about how he felt he was being officiated in this game. By contrast, I was in on Ime post-game, Josue, and my favorite thing he said was, "I wish teams guarded Brown and Tatum the way we did tonight when I was here." So he didn't think that they were too physical with them at all. In fact, the most physical moment of the night might have been when he caught Brown flying out of bounds and stopped him from flying into the scorer's table. He said he wasn't trying to give him a hug, but just catch him and slow him down and stop him. But otherwise, Tatum didn't say too much about Ime's return. He said he got to talk to him and some of the other assistants before the game. They obviously met in LA. He got asked about probably the most interesting comments of the night, that Ime was pretty assertive and reaching out quickly after the suspension and apologizing to who he needed to apologize to. And Tatum said he'll just leave those conversations private. But that was, I guess, a mild relevation out of tonight. I'm not too surprised that happened, that was the case. I mean, who's going to be policing their communications? Tatum even said at the All-Star game that he had kept in touch with Ime periodically throughout the years. We mentioned Josue in our podcast earlier. So that wasn't really a bombshell. Be interested to see what Jaylen says about it. He's talking now, I believe. But otherwise, it ended up being a underwhelming night overall, Josue. There wasn't really a crowd reaction toward him. I'm sure you and Nick talked about that during the game. There was no real acknowledgement of him at all from fans or the team, of course. No video or anything like that. I don't think that surprised us. But then,
you didn't think you would see a tribute video? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so the game too. I'm kind of surprised this is how the game went, Josue, and I'm sure you talked a little bit about that already, but we can get to a little more Ime stuff later. But as far as the game goes, did you expect them to win by 32?
No, not quite. But I didn't think this one would be close, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like we said in the podcast, or at least during our pregame hit, where the second night of a back-to-back, these guys, a lot of these starters played almost 40 minutes. I watched that game last night against the Pistons, and I just wondered when that drop-off would happen. I anticipated it to happen in the fourth, but it happened early in the third quarter when the Celtics had already had an 11-point lead going into halftime. So, but when the Celtics are making, when they're, 25 3-pointers in this one, or 20 plus threes, like, they're just super hard to beat, and especially when they're defending the way they were. I thought they did a really good job just buckling down in that second half.
Yeah, no doubt. The defense was intense, especially Jaylen from the early going.
Because Houston was getting out in transition. They were getting, they were obviously, they kept things close.
Yeah, he got his hand on that Şengün tip out. I know you were like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
So, he was all over the place. I thought this was just a monstrous defensive game for him. 2 blocks on Smith inside that sent the team out in transition. He started 8 for 10, I believe, from the field, mostly on runouts and on the break. So the pace was great in this game. That's how you end up scoring 145, which matched their second highest total of the season against the Clippers, which was also another high-paced game. I thought he set the tone in this one, especially during that 5-minute stretch to start where Tatum didn't score. So they needed a guy to initiate offense in different ways. Ime said going into this game that he wanted Houston to try something new in terms of crowding the paint and completely giving those guys no lane to the basket. But he said Houston wasn't able to rotate out on Porzingis. And, of course, Porzingis hit those 2 early threes in this one. And that was pretty much the ball game, Josue. I know the Rockets kept it close. They got some transition runouts. Celtics probably lapsed a little bit in transition defense early. But when the half-court game came into play, Celtics were just so much better. Great looks for Horford. Great looks for Brown and Tatum. They even got Brown a corner look at one point off a Drew Holiday post-up. It's funny enough, we can talk about it later, but I got to talk to his brother in the locker room, Aaron Holiday, who was here. And he just sees him as a seamless fit here. And I thought he had another strong game tonight. Overall, Şengün gave them a little bit of trouble. Smith on the run, but they handled everybody else. You really didn't even notice Fred VanVleet was out there tonight. So this was impressive. And again, Josue, this is the number 6 defense in the league in Houston coming into this one. I'm sure this was their worst night of the season on the defensive end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's got to be, especially when you look at points allowed per game. They're like top 3 or top 4 in the league. So this obviously that average isn't 145 or anywhere near it. But here's what Jason Tatum had to say. Here's a clip of Tatum talking about Ime Udoka and their relationship, and if they've been speaking to one another in this season, I should say, in the past few months.
He kind of said he's had conversations with all you guys about the specifics of what happened here. Have you cleared the air and everything is cool? Obviously everything's cool, but have you gotten the reasoning and the things you've needed from kind of to help you understand more what happened here?
I mean, just to be honest, like, some of those private conversations I would kind of want to just keep private. But, it seems like, we've all kind of moved on from that. Kind of like leave that in the past.
And
sure, that's what they told him to say about anything related to that. So.
And I'm sure that's the kind of guy Tatum is, man. Like, yeah. you have a private conversation about something, a serious matter like that led to your head coach losing his job. You don't share that stuff, you honor that, and obviously Tatum is doing that, and you got to respect that for sure.
Did you play the cut earlier about Ime saying that the team essentially lied, or the players lied about not talking to him?
No, we didn't. We played the post-game clip, but he said that was pregame. Yeah, pregame.
I can cue that up. That was obviously in relation to Ime's comments pregame, and he had a pretty interesting pregame interview about his perspective on how it all went down and letting people down. It was a pretty brief comment here, but I'll pull it up real quick for everybody to see. Amit's gonna.
I wonder if they had that conversation before.
I would say they lied to you guys. They knew. Some of them knew. And, you know, obviously I could talk to them and they wouldn't share stuff publicly. So who needed to know knew.
Who needed to know knew. So
I wonder if that was before or after media day. Because if it was before media day, they have really good poker faces. Because
that's just how Ime is, right? He he just tells it like it is, and I'm sure guys reached out to him after the suspension and were like, "What the
I know,
hell?"
right? How many coaches would have done that? He's like, "Oh no, they knew. They're real ones. They didn't say anything like they're supposed to." Like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
And that's what I love about Ime. What other coach would have said that to us? Nobody.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. It's interesting, Josue.
Like
when did they know? Was it going into that media day? Because again, we came out of that day like thinking that they were absolutely shocked and just completely in the dark and didn't have a clue.
You think they were like practicing? They're practicing out back, being like, "I had no clue." Like Marcus and like they were like, "No, man, you gotta don't smile, man. You're smirking too much, man. Keep a straight face." Like they're like practicing.
It's been hell.
Yeah, it's been hell.
Marcus Smith said, "Yeah,
this
that's
isn't
interesting.
right."
I do wonder what the timing of that was, but either way, he let them in on it. That's, I'm sure, why there's some closure here. I'm sure he apologized to who he needed to, as he said there. But it was pretty clear to me from his comments tonight that there's still a little something there with the Celtics that, you know, he doesn't love how it ended, and he has great relationships with the players. I think he really tried to assert that these guys still love him, and they hung out in LA and they spent a lot of time together. And even though the team didn't want them communicating, they were right there in his corner. And it makes sense to me. I mean, he wants these guys on his side, Josue, down the line. Who knows what could happen eventually with any number of these guys. Even just kind of playing around with Pritchard on the sideline tonight. I know Pritchard talked about that a little bit in the locker room. 2 Portland guys. They have a relationship going way back. This is how Ime handled things here. Like everybody from his past, he made sure he's on good terms with. If they ever end up back on his team, you know, he wants to be on good terms with these guys. And he's trying to jumpstart his career again here with the Rockets. I think doing a fairly good job. Tonight really wasn't indicative, I think, of what that team's done so far to start this year. It's just, again, Josue, other than that Bucks game the other night, we keep seeing that the Celtics, no matter what issues or matchup problems they might run into, an early deficit in this game, they're just going to figure it out. And they problem solved great on the fly in this game to figure out what the Rockets were doing defensively. Just completely threw Houston off its offensive game. And they end up with the Geno night here.
Geno. Yeah, man. Geno's blasting with a few minutes to spare for sure. 145 to 113 was your final score. Jaylen Brown, who is wrapping things up at the podium. We'll get a clip from him.
Interested to hear. We'll hang on till he talks here.
Yeah, we'll hang on till he talks. We'll get a clip up before we wrap things up here. But let's just talk about his game tonight. 32 points, a game high 32 points, 6 rebounds. But it's these twos that I'm loving. Well, maybe not the 2 assists. That happens regularly for Jaylen. But the 2 steals, 2 blocks. But the other stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, which is just staying in front of your defender and just pissing him off as much as you can. Like I got to credit Jaylen for what he's been doing defensively, because we gave him some flack about a month ago about the whole his goal is to be all defense, and we said, hey Jaylen, like we've seen a little improvement on that end, but no one's really been mentioning your name in that conversation, and we're not quite sure if you're going to be all defense level, but we see the improvements this past 3 weeks. He's starting to he just crept into the conversation. If you ask me personally, against this Houston Rockets team, he was a pest on that end of the floor. What did you make of what you saw from Jaylen on the defensive side?
Just dominant, and forget all defense. He should be in the mix for that. He's been another All-NBA case this year. When you look at the forwards around the league, the consistency, the efficiency he's playing with, he's up to, I think, over 50% now from the field, just at a quick glance here, given the games he's had going back to December, 49.1. So he's getting back to that 50 mark that we're used to seeing him from. 35.8 from 3 is a good number from him. 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and a steal, half a block a game. He's touching all the bases out there in terms of impact. And this is the debate we've always had with with John here, Josue, is, can he become a more well-rounded player? You know, can he start to execute in other areas outside of scoring? And tonight's the perfect example of that. And he's had a handful of nights like that in the recent past here. 11 rebounds against the Timberwolves. He came out with 5 assists in that Jazz game. In the Thunder game, posting 3 assists and 6 rebounds, 6 and 10 rebounds against the Raptors in that dominant win. So he's starting to stack those up in the different categories a little bit more often while continuing to be that aggressive version of himself as a shooter from the field. I mean, he just had great stretches throughout this game. I thought he keyed the beginning when they were in a close one. Midway through the game, he was all over that run, the 25-8 run, I think it was, at its height there, to, pretty much blow this game open. Pull up 3, posting Jaylen Green, all the different stuff he did during that stretch. Even playing a little bit of a 2-man game with Tatum there that I think set Tatum up for a 3. And then Tatum ended up getting him back on the next possession after Brown made a steal, I believe, during that sequence there. So he played through contact. I think I saw him get banged up at one point, maybe his shoulder or something like that. Just playing physically inside. I almost pulled a max there, Josue. The Rockets tried to be physical with him, but
just wait till I tell you what Nick did before you hopped on. But yeah, go ahead.
Again, even Ime acknowledged it. That's a strong guy in Jaylen Brown there, and I thought he was the best player on the floor tonight. Tatum's been great recently. It was Brown who set the tone on both ends of the floor this game in terms of how they wanted to play, and I see the chat mentioning it there. The 2 blocks, just great stuff at the rim, putting himself in the play.
Yeah, he was definitely the man of the night for sure, man. His mom was actually in the crowd, so special moment, I guess, for her to take. I don't know how often she comes to the games, but just a all around.
All right, that was a good show, huh?
Spectacular game for Jaylen, man. He put on a show for sure, and this is a pattern, right? He's taken things to another level in the past couple of weeks, and I don't think he's going to slow down anytime soon. I really don't. And what? Ime also mentioned the fact that the next time these two teams play each other will be a second night of a back-to-back for Houston again, but this time it'll be in Houston. He's hoping that he'll have it'll be a much more competitive game for sure.
Yes, and Ime said that after the game. Again, Easton coming back, Brooks being a little healthier, them figuring out what worked and didn't work here tonight, and some rest going into the game. Ime said it's definitely going to be much more competitive on the Houston side when these two teams meet again. I'm looking forward to it now. That should be a fun run over the next handful of games there that they play on the road, whether it's the Houston one a week from tomorrow, Mavericks the following night, 2 back-to-back games there, tough. And then you got a Thursday game at the Heat. That's going to be another physical battle. I mean, you talk about 5 games in 7 days going into that Bucks game. They have about 6 here over the next 10. So another loaded stretch against some really good teams. We know the Raptors have played them well coming up on Monday. Spurs, I'm sure they're going to put up a better fight than they did in that San Antonio game. Nuggets, I can't wait for that one, the potential finals preview there. And then that 3-game road trip. So can even add the Clippers into that mix at the end of the month there.
This is a really this is a great time for that Nuggets matchup, man. I can't wait. Next Friday at TD Garden.
Absolutely. And let's see, do we have anything coming out of Jaylen's presser here in terms of quotes? I know we're going to cue up some sound, but I am interested to see how he responded to Ime's apology, or however you want to describe it there. I'm sure some people were tweeting it out.
Yeah, we got a clip coming in a little bit that we'll go to.
He said on Ime, I think Ime was great for us because we were kind of used to playing in Brad's system. Ime made the system around us. It was see a play, make a play, and he designed everything around what we did best and empowered us to make decisions. Brad would call the game for you, and Ime was more figure it out. It was different for us. And even now with Joe, he's expanded on it. He's like a combination of the two, which, when we talked to Will Hardy a week or two, Josue, and I asked him that question about the defense they implemented, and he was like, yeah, we didn't implement that. That was building on stuff Brad did here. And, we sort of added to it, and then Joe's added to it even more now. So everything is kind of built on the previous coach here to Joe, of course, having coached under both of them. And I'm sure you saw his comments in Milwaukee about how he appreciated Ime, given the fact that he was able to see a San Antonio perspective, a Philadelphia perspective, as well as a Brooklyn one, given Ime's experience coming into this. So everyone came out of that experience appreciative, I think, of what they learned from him. Going into the next season after the suspension, I'm sure some confusion and frustration lingered throughout that year, but once they got the closure and I think started to believe in Joe a little bit more into this year, they've come out better on the other end of it. You see the personnel changes that they've made at this point, Porzingis and others responding to some of the challenges that they had under both coaches. And that's the thing here, Josue. I'm the biggest Ime fan in the world, but they battled the same issues we've talked about under all three coaches under him, especially on the offensive end. The one thing Joe deserves credit for, I think, is that he's shifted the focus toward their biggest problem, which was offensive execution. I mean, we didn't see them doing this offensively under Ime. They were a dominant defensive team, and I love that identity, but he wasn't an offensive coach, and this team probably needed an offensive overhaul that Missoula's tried to give them there. And the fact that he's mixing in defensive consistency this year in a game like this, you're getting the best of both worlds here. So there's certainly days I miss what Ime brought to the table here, but I think in a year or two with Joe, you're seeing him just as capable, maybe more overall when you consider the offensive execution he's implemented.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder just the way he changed their mentality, right? To be strong-minded and to take on that criticism when he put them, on blast the way they did. You know what I mean? Well, he did it in a way to not only encourage them, but to take responsibility. And I think that was a lot of the times. Didn't happen as often with Brad. I feel like Brad sort of was like, oh, I got to prep these guys better. I got to do this better. And Ime's approach was completely different. It was like, wait a minute, you guys put yourself in these situations and you guys have to figure out how to get out of it. And I think a lot of that times, this season, you're seeing a team that's past those initial steps of not being overwhelmed when a defense is taking away everything that, you're used to. And I think a lot of the times those Brad Stevens-led teams that would happen sometimes where they would go into panic mode and they make bad decisions offensively. And, Ime system was different in the sense of every night's going to be a different problem. You got to be prepared to fix that. And I think you're seeing now is the result of a team that can do that so quickly that the problem's solved by the end of the quarter. We always hear Missoula talking about finishing quarters strong, no matter how they started, no matter what situation you're in. And, that sort of mentality, I feel like obviously helps. And then bringing in new weapons just maximized everything. Porzingis, Drew Holiday, experienced guys, veterans, skilled players that you can that will amplify your offense, but also they can hold things down on the defensive end, and they don't have to be your top, one or two scorers, So that obviously those are roles that they were ready for, but also they're comfortable, in being those guys. So it's all coming together.
I saw someone mention Sam Cassell in the chat here. I was coming off the court, Josue, and he was behind me, and I heard a great quote from him talking to someone coming off. He said, "Last time I was 30-9, I was in Houston." And I just looked it up here. The 1994 Rockets,
they won it all.
Champions, started 30-9 on
there you go.
This month.
Before you hopped on, Nick was talking about the just the overall vibe when you feel like a championship team is fine. Has his stride. He's feeling it, man. He's got I had to tell him to not wear the Celtics hoodie, no Celtics attire on camera, but he wanted to. He was so excited.
Yeah, and I feel it too. I'm not completely sold that they're going to get it done this year. I'm still holding out hope, or I'm still, holding out some tests down the line here against different teams. It feels like they've played the same teams over and over and over again at this point to be in the season, given the schedule here. Denver's certainly a team I'm looking at next weekend, how they fare in that game. So it's going to be interesting. They're there. They're right in that mix of like 2 to 3 teams that can do it here. So it's going to be interesting to watch. But they certainly have the pieces to get it done. They've certainly made the strides to get it done. And in comparison to last year, at the very least, you know how I felt last year, Josue. I just did not like the vibes around that team at all last year. Some of the games they dropped, some of the inconsistency on the defensive end, and certainly even the individual efforts on that team, plus weird stuff like the Grant situation. And obviously, we saw in the end that Brogdon in that 6-man role wasn't ideal for him. This is just a much more assured team, everybody with their roles, knowing what their roles are, and even the coaching staff upgrades we've mentioned here, like Cassell and Lee and all the way down the line. It's a perfect storm right now, and they've been healthy. Knock on wood here for them. This is it, right? They got to get it done, Josue. This is the year. It's going to be a disappointment if they don't. The deadline's coming up. Do they need to make solidifying moves to, ramp up that 8 to 9 spot on the bench? Again, we've seen Josue on a night like tonight when they're fully healthy. I think they've lost, once or twice at most all year.
Wow.
So when they're fully healthy, they look unstoppable. When they're on those back-to-backs, like on Thursday in Milwaukee, and one big's missing, and Luke's out there a ton, or some of the guys deeper off the bench, it gets a little shakier. And I talked to O'Shea tonight. He said, he's, whatever happens at the deadline happens. And he didn't really take those Brad comments as the direct challenge to himself. He's just trying to go out there and play and do what the coaching staff needs him to on any given night. So his confidence is there in potentially being that guy. But it's up in the air right now. And, again, he said whatever happens, happens there.
Like we said, Jaylen Brown, last one at the podium, and here's a little bit of what he had to say after this win. 145-113 blowout win against the Rockets.
I feel like Ime's influence helped, and how Joe's kind of helped you guys get to that top level.
For sure. I think Ime was great for us because we were kind of used to playing in Brad's system. And Ime kind of, when he came about, he made the system kind of around us. It was like, see a play, make a play. And he kind of designed everything around kind of what we did and do best. And it kind of empowered us to make more decisions, and stuff like that. So it was great for our development and things like that, because we were used to kind of, Brad, he kind of think the game for you. Brad would prepare, make sure, he'll call the plays. Ime was more like figure it out, empowered us to go play, go hoop, and be who we are. And, it was just it was different for us. So it definitely helped us grow as basketball players. And even now with Joe, he's expanded on that as well. It's like a combination of the two, where it's like, we empowering us, but also we got to be the smarter, more prepared team. So every coach has different styles, but Ime definitely was a part of our development.
He's a big part of it for sure, man.
Yeah, it was cool to see him. Of course, I think he was just a massive part of these guys' growth and reaching the next level. And it stinks it didn't last. Fortunately for the Celtics, they figured it out in the aftermath, found the right coach, it appears here, and a good mix that added to what these guys already do so well. Ime talked a little bit about those additions as well post-game. I definitely recommend go checking out that full post-game interviews. As always, pretty informative session with him, and just straight talk. Sometimes you love to hear it, Josue, because you don't get a lot of it around this sport. Guys just throw around the cliches or keep stuff tight to the vest. And Joe's been a little better this year, right? Giving us good insight. I said it in our pregame show, day and night, in terms of letting us in. I think he's gone above and beyond this year in terms of letting us know why he's doing certain things, or kind of explaining what he's thinking or why they did certain things in a game. But there's just no one out there who's gonna say how he feels, criticize people, and just be himself like Ime. And it's cool to see him again tonight. And of course, they're going to see him again in the near future here, a week from tomorrow in Houston. So he'll have a chance to get his revenge, and I'm sure he's going to want it, because that was an ass kicking tonight.
Oh yeah, he put them on blast for that. He didn't like the way that they defended the Jays in this one, and rightfully so. The blowout loss against the Celtics, the Rockets. Yeah, it was a little bit of a long night for them. 145-113 is your final score. Looking ahead, Bobby, we got the
Raptors.
The Raptors heading out to Toronto. What do you make of them right now, especially after their trade with the New York Knicks?
Oh, an interesting new dynamic there. Quickly is a guy who's given the Celtics some trouble. Now in a starting role, he's going to be able to battle with Boston's starting unit. I'm sure they'll be fully available again in this game. So good chance for the Celtics to go up there, get a win ahead of the San Antonio game. It's been a tough matchup for them this year. OG's lost RJ's not quite the same level of a wing there, even if he can have some big scoring nights. Not quite the same.
He's off to a good start up there. He was very inconsistent sometimes. Well, inconsistent with the Knicks, especially right before the trade. But yeah.
Yeah, the last game against them in this team, Siakam got going a little bit, but too late. He just sort of attacked one-on-one. You got some decent ball movement stretches from them. Pirtle had a double-double. But, again, just not enough shooting, not enough firepower. Maybe one of those guys gets hot. Certainly quickly has a better chance of doing that than Dennis Schroeder did in the last game here. And they've played a few close stretches. So I'm not going to rule out this being a competitive game. They've had them, and certainly the first game up in Toronto was super competitive. Celtics really got caught off guard in that in-season tournament game. But you know how I feel about Toronto, Josue. They've always just had a trick up their sleeve in terms of how to keep it close with the Celtics. And it's good that the Celtics are going to just get this season series out of the way here and have a lot of success in it because, fortunately for them, it looks like Toronto is going to start to initiate a little bit of a rebuild here. All the reporting saying that Siakam's going to end up off the team in the near future here. And it looks like it could be Dallas here potentially for him, which really puts that team in an interesting spot. Luka's been going off. Kyrie is just playing out of this world. You look at his numbers since he returned. Getting some good play out of that rookie center there. Grant's had his up and downs, certainly. But it's not inconceivable, Josue.
Yeah,
not inconceivable.
Look, if you're looking across the Western Conference, you're the Dallas Mavericks, you're like, hey, we could be one trade away, so they're going to do their best for sure.
You could see Siakam twice over the next week if that's the case. So
yeah, that's true. We'll see what happens. All right, Monday night is the next game against the Toronto Raptors before the Celtics head back home to host the San Antonio Spurs. But first things first, of course, we'll be back here Monday night following the Celtics Raptors game. Of course, for continuous coverage from this game, head to clnsmedia.com as well as the YouTube channel, Celtics All Access as well. Bobby and I will record a couple of segments, get those videos up there from this game, putting the finishing touches on this one as we wrap up this game here between the Celtics and the Rockets. 145 to 113 is your final score. That's going to do it. He's Bobby Manning for Nick Gelso, who kicked things off on the show. Fun time. Always fun kicking it with Nick. It's been a while. I am Josue Pavon. We'll see you guys Monday night, and have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Saturday. We appreciate you guys.